Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Barrens Chat podcast. I'm Saad, and with me today is my co-host Guck. This is a podcast about World of Warcraft by two guys who play. So I got AOTC this week, dude.
Congrats. Huge congrats on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, it was probably one of the easier ahead of the curve achievements to get in recent memory. It definitely than Legion. Maybe Xavius was easier, but as far as mechanics go, and a couple guys in my raid said managing Ashara is so much better than managing Jaina or Cahoon. That it's an easy repeatable boss, and the raid kind of fell over in heroic.
That's good. You told me that you guys had a 2% pull. What kind of problems did you guys have between that 2% pull and then the rest of the prog?
So our issue Wednesday night we raided and we wiped at 20 or 17% was our best pull, and our issue was just cleaning up, absorbing, and handling that phase, DPS in the ads, and managing the spears, and then as we hit the 2% pulls, we were losing people to the lasers and stuff like that. So it was just cleaning up the mechanics. Our numbers were there. We just had to clean it up, make it easier on the healers. And once we got that down, the boss died in 5 pulls last night.
Yeah, that's got to be fun. I mean, honestly, thinking back to just within this tier, Cahoon, it was not pleasant trying to get AOTC early with the orb running mechanic, because you would have a few classes that were basically set up to do the mechanic very well, some classes that could do the mechanic kind of okay, and it was just so much pressure on those people as they learned the mechanic that you were more or less limited to them in the first stage, and then execution for your Phase 2 orb runners, which were usually you'd either have, if you class stacked, you'd have more people individually running orbs, or you'd have teams now passing the orb. You were just kind of held back by those few people, and it made them feel bad because they were responsible for it, and the rest of the raid feels bad because they're doing all this work down below and nothing's happening. Cahoon was not a very fun AOTC to get. Jaina was an improvement, but yeah, I would say Ajara, I don't know. Ajara, to me, I'm just it was an easy enough AOTC where I don't even really care. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm already really focused on Mythic.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those bosses, though, where re-clearing isn't as bad as, Jaina or Cahoon, right? Because even when the boss is on farm, you still have to set up strategies. You still have to go over the fight. It's not like Gul'dan or Kil'jaeden was, when you could just walk in, everybody knows their job, and you just shred the boss faster and faster each week. You still have to devise who's doing what and strategize it and have a decent comp for it, which is kind of a pain. But I think, you still have to have competent raid leadership and coordination on Ashara, but it's a lot more forgiving if you don't have a specific comp, right? So it's a little bit better to repeat. I think more people will get AOTC this tier than previous tiers. And on top of that, the loot that dropped off Cahoon and Jaina was trash, and Azshara at least has half decent loot.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about going back to Reclear, as you said, you can't really cheese Cahoon that much. You still have to take the orbs and put them in to do the mechanic. But with Ajara, if you and your DPS and if everyone's geared up to the point where you can just go through the burn strat, you can change your strategy and go back to Ajara later after you guys have farmed up some of the introductory mythic gear and just blast through your Ajara reclear like you said, and it won't be, nearly as bad. I remember Jaina reclears being a hassle to the point where I don't think I killed heroic Jaina more than twice. I really don't.
Yeah, and who could blame you, right? I mean, she really dropped nothing of use. So I think that was a really bad job by game or loot designers to just have those last 2 bosses just drop terrible loot, right? Whereas you think of last bosses in Legion, and the loot would be, some of the best in slot for a lot of classes, and there was a lot of reason to re-clear it, right, if you're trying to optimize your raid, but they did a really bad job of it, and I think that's why you saw such a a huge dip in raid teams in the last 2 tiers of this expansion.
And it's pretty fucked up. I mean, when you think about it, they've already taken away a lot of what the gear people have to do from the design side, and they've passed it over to the Azerite team, right? Because your Azerite armor largely has taken over the role of set pieces. So the people who are designing loot for raids, they're not doing anything with set pieces. So, like, the last real area where you can do something cool is obviously the trinket. That's a pretty standard thing where you should expect something really cool, and we didn't get good trinkets out of Battle of Dazar'alor's last 2 bosses. Definitely going to get some better trinkets from Eternal Palace, but they're not as much from the end. Most people are really going for Ashfane and the Orgazoa trinkets. But as far as the gear design team, why didn't they spend a ton of time putting badass rings and badass trinkets with incredibly unique and important effects in those last 2 bosses? Like, they have nothing else to do. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah, and there's really no point in clearing those bosses because they're a pain in the ass. So they really just gave no reward for it other than an achievement, right? So it's just a bad job. I like to think that they would say they made mistakes on that.
Yeah, I hope they. I think, I mean, what didn't Ian Hazukosis say that they pruned too much? I mean, I hope they understand that it extends beyond just the character. Like, obviously, we want more character abilities and more individual kind of character, I don't know, like a feel to it, having every class feel like that class. But it's not just the classes, something that extends to everyone. We felt like we lost so much when BFA started. We lost set pieces. We lost our Legion weapons and got Azerite, which didn't do a good job replacing it. So, yeah, it's just kind of like we've clearly lost too much. And I hope they understand that they've over-pruned and that we'll be getting that stuff back in the 9.0.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be hopeful for, and who knows where they're going with the faction thing. I still see speculation on that all over the internet, and I don't really care either way. I think it would be kind of cool to see the factions go away, but it would also kind of hinder or hurt the game, right, where the game's been for the last 15 years. But we'll see. We pulled Mythic Savara quite a few times, and that fight is definitely going to be a learning curve. It's a lot more challenging than Heroic, and it's a really, really tough first Mythic boss, way tougher than we saw in Legion or the beginning of Battle for Azeroth.
Yeah. When you think about Talok, when you think about champions, they just were easy bosses. They were easy, free bosses to the point where it wasn't even like a question whether or not you would go through Heroic before going into Mythic. Everyone got their pieces out of Talok. They got pieces out of champions. And that was like a for sure thing. So I'm kind of glad to see the first boss be a little bit more difficult. I don't think Mythic rating should be something that ever is guaranteed, even on the first boss. So I'm for that.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's an achievement to kill a boss in Mythic Raid. I think it's kind of funny that the next 2 bosses are considered like a walkover almost.
Oh yeah, the next 2 bosses are free. Behemoth and Radiance are free.
So, but it's good to have that Gatekeeper, right? Like, I mean, if you get the Gatekeeper down, you're pretty much guaranteed 2 more bosses, which I think is, not good, but I don't have a problem with it. It's not, they're not giving out free 445 gear at least, like they were in the last 2 tiers.
Yeah, exactly. And then that kind of cascades because now that you've got a higher eye level, you get into higher eye level content, and it lessens the quality of that content for everyone because people who don't have the skill to get to their eye level are doing things that require that kind of skill. So it does tend to bring down the game. So I'm glad the first boss is hard. That should be, honestly, I think for Mythic, the first boss should be a wall. And then it should be easy. Then there should be another wall halfway through. Then it should be easy. And then the last 2 bosses need to be hard. I honestly, I feel like that is how you make a fulfilling raid tier. You can't get in for free, you can't get through it for free, and you can't end it for free.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, you got to have a tank and spank boss in there somewhere, right? I think that
Yeah,
makes
like
every
the
raid.
second or third boss being free is good, but it's become excessive to the point where every raid on Mythic, you expect the first three bosses to be free, and then the raid begins on the fourth boss.
Yeah, I will say like Savara was tough for us. We didn't even get her below like 60%, and we just called it with like a half hour left and did the heroic warfront just to get everybody a little bit more gear. So that wasn't too bad. But it's good. I think it's great to have a tough boss like that. It was it gets frustrating. I think we have to change our strategy up a little bit, but um, who knows?
Yeah, and you guys are a 3 day a week, 2 hour per day raid guild. So you're similar to my guild. We both raid 6 hours a week, but obviously you guys raid that extra day. How is that going to affect your classic playtime? Because I plan on busting my ass for the first few weeks of classic while everyone's there. Because, the servers are going to be alive and the markets are going to be alive. Everything's going to be fun to do. Easier dungeon queues, like everything kind of turns into something easier as you follow the server as they level. But yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, we locked down our character names today. It's already almost upon us.
Yeah, so we're 2 weeks out right now. So my guild doesn't have an attendance policy, right? Their primary focus is heroic, and if they have the people, they'll push into mythic as far as they can, as long as they have the people. So I will likely not be raiding in Battle for Azeroth for a week, possibly two. I'm gonna prioritize my time and just see what I can get done in Classic. And if Classic's getting a little dry for me, maybe I'm sick of leveling, I'll pop on and raid. It's only 2 hours. I think the cool thing about a 2 hour raid, and this is the first time I'm doing a 2 hour raid schedule, is even if I'm wiping all night, it's not that bad. It's only a couple hours, so it just doesn't feel like as much of a grind. But yeah, so that first week, I'm pretty much not gonna raid. That goes without say. And I would expect most of my guild to probably be in the same boat. I would expect a lot of guilds to have attendance issues that week.
Yep. Yeah, my plan is to just kind of go on to life alert. uh, like if something really happens, I'm gonna press a button and they're gonna fucking pull me back in. But I plan on kind of going pretty hard into Classic. I'm gonna raid Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll do a Mythic 10, sometime over the weekend. But I'm not gonna be signing on to WoW to do daily emissaries. I'm not gonna do Nazjatar and Mechagon dailies. I'm not gonna be doing anything if it's not leveling up in WoW. Like I'm so excited to actually get that character progression going again and enjoy it. Like I had so much fun doing this recently on a TBC server, so this is going to be great.
Yeah, I already have my tailoring strategy squared away. I'm just gonna learn tailoring as fast as I can, get the 6 slot bags, and just advertise in general. Bring the mats and get your bags, boys. Get my
So
tailoring up.
what are we going to do with the crew, do you think? Like Chow going to be a part of it? Is Jorik going to be a part of it? Are
Yes.
they
So a
going to
couple of
like
the
actually
guys,
play?
yeah, a couple of the guys like Chow specifically isn't that excited for Classic. I think he'll probably play, but I don't know if he's really into retail right now. We do have a handful of people from our old guild that are playing. We have a couple friends that rolled Alliance on the same server that we're playing Horde, so I'm excited about that. I think that'll be really cool. I'm really excited for the World PvP and like seeing the same names all over the place and getting to like fight the same people. Like, oh, this guy ganked me the other day. He's at half HP. I could kill him right now. I think having that community is gonna be awesome. I'm so pumped up for that. We're 2 weeks out. I'm just ready to go. I'm so ready for this game to come out. And like I I almost it's making me not want to do things on retail. I had to push myself to do my emissaries today.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't expect a lot of people to get to 60, but I do expect there to be a lot of fun especially in the 1 to 30 leveling time. Like, that is the highest amount of fun. Your character is like really becoming its class, and you're really starting to get into it. Like, I'm really excited for that, and it's coming up. It's going to be an issue to even attend raid. Like you said, you're lucky in that you get to skip raid, but I'm gonna have to still raid.
Yeah, if 20 people in your guild show up, who knows what they're going to be doing, right? I mean, you still got to make those numbers. I think I'm more pumped up for like the 25 plus leveling, right? You hit Hillsbrad and you hit Tenaris and STV, like those walls where both Alliance and Horde go to grind and go to quest at the same levels. The battles that you're going to see out there, everybody's going to be at the same level, kind of doing their thing. They're probably going to have their, 1 or 2 man squad that they're with, and you're going to see some serious battles out there, and I think that's going to be awesome, and it's going to drive the community and the server, and you're going to see server forums erupt with, people getting mad at people or just saying how much fun it was to fight each other and, take a break from the monotony of leveling. I think it's going to be awesome, and I think Retail WoW is going to learn a lot from the first several weeks of Classic and how much fun everybody's having.
Yeah, I'm concerned because I feel like all of the fun that people will be having isn't going to translate to systems being put back into BFA. I think the 2 teams being separate means that they're going to end up catering to 2 more unique playstyles. I mean, sure, there are going to be a lot of players that overlap and whatnot, but they're largely going to be like the Classic team's going to be doing stuff for Classic, and the Retail team's going to be doing stuff for Retail. I'm worried that Retail is going to move away even further from where it's come from the Classic kind of mentality, but we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with a lot of the quality of life stuff, but I just think that more or less, like, in Classic, the community runs the game, right? Whereas in Retail, the community doesn't really run anything. It's all just RNG based, and there's no community set rules that people abide by just because that's the way it is, right? Like back in the day when Classic or Vanilla, whatever you want to call it, was the game, like the community made the rules, like, and you obeyed the rules in the community or you were going to get put on blast on the forums, and you'd have a hard time finding a group of people because everybody would know that you're not a good person to group with, and that's like a struggle. So I think that's really cool, and there's like there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's consequences for your actions, and I think
accountability.
Yes,
server
exactly.
Accountability.
Yeah, there's accountability that people hold you to. I mean, obviously not everybody reads server forums, but the population will probably be high enough that it could affect your gameplay if you're an asshole that people don't want to play with.
Thank you for tuning into the Barrens Chat podcast. We appreciate you taking this time to listen to us talk about World of Warcraft. If you have any questions, comments, something you want to submit to the show, email us at barenschatpod@gmail.com, or you can send us something on Twitter at barenschatpod.